So welcome back to the third edition of the Sage Media Solutions Coaches Corner. People accuse us of not giving enough love to the Bronx, to the north side of New York City. Of course, we're in Harlem right now with the APR. So of course, we're here with the 2022 B Division champion. He has been coaching APR, A. Philip Randolph, for 8 years. Everyone knows him. Everyone loves him. Coach Perlowitz, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me, man.
Listen, really excited to be here. Been a big fan of what you guys have done. Again, the bias to Brooklyn, Staten Island, that all needs to end. You see, we're in Harlem. We're going to be in the Bronx for other ones. So let's just talk about that. I know we're going all script just to start.
Absolutely.
But how do you feel that, Harlem, the Bronx, Manhattan football and sports are kind of perceived across New York City?
Well, I mean, I think we're overlooked, but it's rightfully so. We don't have as many teams up here. There's only I think 5 teams in Manhattan. There's maybe 6, 7, 8 teams in the Bronx. You got 36 teams in Brooklyn and Staten Island, and when you talk about sports, the majority of the PSAL teams are not in the north. But I think we play our own style of football, and we play hard, and we try to represent that hard-nosed football every season, with every group. So we try and put some respect on the name.
Do you wear it is it almost as a badge of honor? Is it Team North, or do you want to be like the first team in the North to get a big win?
I think I don't even know who started it, but someone kept calling us that team in the North, that team in the North. So might have been someone at Sheep's Head, but yeah, we try to represent the North. That's how we feel. That's that's kind of the persona we're taking on, and we're gonna ride with it.
No, absolutely, and of course we have to go to recap last season. And I almost want to go even not just to September, but even further back, right? Because you guys had Travis Gamble in the 2024 season, right? Led the league in rushing, he led the PSAL in rushing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And he was one of the top in rushing touchdowns, if not the top. And when you guys lost him, a lot of people, said, "Oh, what's APR going to do? They don't have Travis Gamble."
Yeah.
How'd you guys respond? Undefeated regular season, what you give up 21 points in the regular season?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, right? So that's quite a response to, people saying, you guys are a one-trick pony. What are you going to do without Travis Gamble? So just describe the season, losing a player like him and replacing him, and then the success you guys saw.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably like March, maybe even earlier, where Travis came to me and said he's moving back to Florida. So we immediately called a team meeting. I had a captain's meeting, I had a team meeting, and we kind of told everyone, that Travis was going back home. But at the same time, guys weren't panicking. Guys weren't they were happy for him that he was going home. He's from Florida, They're happy he got to play his senior year at home. And instead of oh no, what are we gonna do? It was more like, oh, now this is my time, this is my time. Guys kind of stepped up and were like, well, now these opportunities are going to come. I'm going to make the most of them. And we kind of came together as a group and we're like, all right, so this narrative is already out there that Travis is going, back to Florida. What are we going to do? And we decided we're just going to, train hard, stay quiet. And that when August comes, we're just going to, we're going to, pop out and show everyone how hard we've been working and kind of put that to rest. And I think we executed that plan pretty well. We didn't post a lot. We got Jair in, and that was about the biggest off-season news for us. But we were working, all spring, all summer, like we always do. And then, when August rolled around, we felt pretty good that, we had a really good squad. So it obviously losing a player like Travis is always gonna hurt. But I think it sparked something in these guys where they just, they stepped up, and they stepped up big time, and did everything we asked of them.
And I think that's a true sign of the culture of the program. And of course, it starts with you being at the top of it. So describe that culture a bit and what contributes to it.
Yeah, I think that kind of story just embodies our culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we lose our all-state top player, and you know, what do? We come back, like you said, you know, have an 8-0 season, but like guys stepped up. With this culture, the young guys who come in, they kind of want to emulate the older guys, wear their number, you know, be the next Seba, be the next Travis, you know, it kind of stays in program. And that's kind of that culture that we've set from the start. And it's made its way all the way now to year 8, where, you know, guys are looking at highlights from that 2022 year and they're studying the past of this program, and they kind of just want to represent it as best they can. So like you say, culture, I think this season was a testament to that culture and what these kids, you know, do here.
Do you think that's something that naturally happened, or was that like intentional, something that you wanted APR to be like?
I mean, it kind of happened both ways. It was something I wanted the program to be like, but the kids ultimately took that upon themselves, you know? And it helps that in this kind of culture, like, we don't have kids transfer out, you know? We have some kids transfer in, but like, we have a strong core, always a JV program that, you know, kids come in, and our JV program is ran really, really, you know, tight ship with our coach Frawley. And the kids come in, they see, you know, the type of program we run, and they stay, and they go through the program the way it's meant to go through. They see it through. And the byproduct of that is the emulation of the older guys, you know, wanting to take their spots, their numbers. So it happened organically, but also something I always wanted for the program, because that's how it was like for me growing up, you know, looking at the older guys, they were like NFL players to us. So kind of twofold.
And that's great. And you really see it because of the constant success you guys have had at all levels. And you're into 3A, and of course you guys are probably waiting. Listen, I hear that. When they're gonna talk about Sheepshead, we talking about Sheepshead right now. I mean, that game, it was literally a collision course.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. It was a collision course. Yes, we could talk about the brackets, should have been the championship. We got the game, all right? We got the game. And all season long, it was just almost like it was a build up to this. You know, I'm sure, you know, you guys are probably focused on what you were doing, you know, knocking a team down. Sheepshead was probably focused, knocking the team down. And then 2 undefeated teams met, you know, up in Harlem. So just talk about, of course, the game, you know, didn't end the way you wanted, but, you know, it was such a game to be remembered. So let's just go from the beginning, like when you guys won the quarterfinal matchup, you know, you looked at PSAL website, saw that it was going to be Sheepshead, you know, from that point, and then take me to kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was building all year, you know, collision course from the start. Once the brackets came out, it was, you know, not to put down any of the teams that we played in the playoffs before Sheepshead, but, you know, we had felt if we executed everything we needed to, we were going to see them in the semis. So, like you said, collision course. And, yeah, I mean, we felt pretty good going into that game. Obviously, didn't end, like you said, didn't end the way we wanted it to. But it was a great game. Sheepshead played really well. They coached really well. And we dug ourselves a hole. And, you know, some things, you know, didn't go our way. We made mistakes that you can't make in games like that and expect to win. And, but, you know, coaching in those games, I mean, to me, that's why you coach. That's the best part about coaching high school football. You know, high stakes games, you know, big matchups, heavyweight matchups, and yeah, that was one of them. And you know, it was a lot of fun. It was frustrating at times, but I'm very proud of our kids. I mean, something we always preach is fight until the end. Those kids fought to the end, and till there was no time left, they, you know, never gave up, even though the score, you know, went to, you know, 2 scores, then we cut it back to 10 points, whatever it is. But, you know, they fought till the end. They showed a lot of character and heart. And you know, hats off to Sheepshead for that win. That was you know, they coached well, they played well. You know, they came in, they gave us our first home loss in our program history. You know,
Wow.
we had never lost.
Say that again in that camera.
We had never lost a home game until the semifinals.
That's crazy. Wow.
I don't know what the record was, you know, 30-0, 25, 28-0, I don't know. But we had been undefeated at home going back to, you know, the beginning, you know, including that Fort Ham overtime win at home and, you know, a couple other games. But, you know, so like I said, my hat's off to them. And, you know, hopefully, you know, we see them again soon.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna like go through the game a little bit because you know you guys started off like in that first series. You know, I really felt like your defense really set the tone. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a 3-and-out right away, right? And then you know, Sheepshead definitely took the advantage. If I'm not mistaken, they scored twice in a row, maybe 3 times. I think it was twice in a row before you scored.
So they go 3-and-out. We return a punt, gets called back. You know, and those things happen, you know. You know, but that was a little wind out of our sails. But we, on that drive, then, you know, we throw one in the back of the end zone. Suazo doesn't get his foot down, or, you know, that's the way it was called. And then so it was like, you know, 1 touchdown off the board, 2 touchdowns off the board. And then I think Manny threw another one to Za and couldn't control it all the way through. And so the game kind of started, and I feel like, you know, we felt good. We were rolling, and then we didn't punch it in on that drive. And then, like you said, Sheepshead came out, and then, you know, they scored on the next drive. And then at the next drive, I think we fumbled, and they capitalized. And yeah, they went up. They went up 18 actually.
It was 18. Okay,
it was 18, and then we finally, you know, got something going. Man, he took a run up the middle for about 60 yards, and you know we still had, so it was 18-6.
Yeah, so I just want to stop there because, especially for upcoming coaches, you might feel like you're a younger coach. You definitely are one of the younger coaches.
Yeah.
But I feel like that kind of experience, like that's where like real coaching is. You have a team that's undefeated, barely have had a scratch in your armor all season long, and I think it's so important for your experience in coaching in general. That first drive goes the way you think, like, oh yeah, we got them. We see 3 and out, and then you have that deflating moment where you're not able to punch it in. And then they come back, they get the wins in their sail. They give you guys a big punch back, and then the team's reeling a bit. So in that, when you're down the first score, when you're down the second score, what is it like on the sideline? How are you kind of keeping everybody together not to freak out too much?
I mean, it's got to come from the top, and you got to show, the kids that you're calm, you're cool, collective. You can't get all riled up because then the kids are going to get all riled up. And it comes from the leadership on the team as well. And so, it is a tough thing as a head coach, to when you are down, is to keep the game plan, keep composure, keep your cool head, and know you're not going to score 18 points on one drive. You got to chip away. And so it's something we constantly work on. We're still working on, but a lot of it also comes from the kids and the leadership and the seniors on the team. The rest of the kids will usually follow suit if everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that one of the cliches in sports is that, a 2-score lead is very, very dangerous, right? But I feel like young kids probably don't see that. They might see, we're down 14. Like, I can't believe this. And what I admire so much from you guys in that second half was just like you said, you kept clawing back. You got the Suazo pick 6. One of the players, I forget the number, returns a kickoff.
Yeah, Christian Torres. Yep.
Christian, he returns a kickoff for a touchdown. You guys kept knocking on the door, and just like you said, you really kept fighting. But Sheepshead was just better on the day. They had an answer for everything that you had. So just talk about that second half, how proud you were of the team, and what you said to them after, because of course they were crushed, disappointed.
No, I was very proud. Coming out. We had scored Suazo on a go ball. Then he scored on the pick 6, and Mehdi on a long touchdown catch. it was like kind of like punch for punch there in the second half. So I was happy that the kids knew that we were fighting and that, we were going to give everything we had and we weren't just going to, crawl over. We weren't going to roll over and die, I told them I was proud of them for that. I told them I feel their pain, we wanted it and we didn't get it. So I kind of just like sat with them in that moment because we're in this thing together, so we got to feel the pain together. We got to feel the high together. And that's just, all part of coaching.
Yeah. And of course, sports, it's beautiful and it's brutal at the same time, right? Let's say you win the championship in 2022, you're feeling great, right? And, the past 2 years, 2 semifinal exits, right? Do you start to feel the pressure to get over the hump?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like you said, 2 semifinal exits the last 2 years. And before that, we go to the chip in 21. And we,
that was the South. Yes, that was the South Shore year.
No, in 21 was Clinton. So
21 was Clinton. Okay.
So we go to the chip in 21, and we lose with a heartbreaker with 30 seconds left. Wow. And we come back in 22 and we win the chip when it was A and B.
Yeah.
And then in 23 we go back to the chip and lose to a very good South Shore team.
I forgot that one. Yeah.
And then so, you set this standard almost, 3 years in a row you go to championship, and then when you get knocked out in the semis 2 years in a row, you've kind of set the floor, so like so our floor is, for me personally, is losing in the like getting knocked out in the semi. So, and I don't feel the pressure from like our admin or our staff or the kids. I feel it from myself, as a competitor, as someone, who's always competing and wants to be the best. I feel that pressure within, and of course I want to do it for the kids. These kids have been through it all, Manny was there, and Za and Isaac, they were there on the South Shore championship loss. They were there when we got knocked out in the semis 2 years ago. They were there when we got knocked out last year. So they've experienced it all except a championship win. So, I put a lot of pressure. I feel the pressure to go out there and win a championship for sure.
And I love the analogy, like the floor and the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a really, really good way to look at sports and to set your expectations, especially, your floor being a semifinal
right
is tremendous.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people take that for granted. Even if I use a team like Abraham Lincoln,
mm-hmm.
a lot of people might say, "Oh, Lincoln hasn't won in half." They're in the semifinal
every year,
almost every. That is hard.
Absolutely, it's very hard. You win a championship and you say to yourself, we could do this again. We could do it the next year. You think but then you realize it's hard to win championships. It's hard to, stay at the top each year, and it takes a lot of work. Takes a lot of good players, good staff members. It's not easy, like you said. It's hard.
Yeah, man. Let's just dig into the X and O's a bit.
Yeah.
The fans, the analysts. I don't know if I'm an analyst. I don't know what I am now, right?
You guys are. I think you're just a mix of everything.
The fans, the analysts, the pages. Some people, they'll say, the wing T style of offense is a little outdated. It can't get you over the hump. You have to have a balanced attack. Listen, your team definitely proved that you can run that offense and still be able to pass the ball. So what do you say to that criticism when people say, no, the wing T is a little outrated? And is the wing T, is that the correct way to describe your offense?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a traditional wing T. We absolutely use wing T concepts. Mm-hmm. And, I don't really take it as a criticism. Pretty much most schemes that you see came from a wing T scheme. We run I call it a hybrid. We're in wing T formation. We're in, bully type formations, unbalanced. And then we're in 2x2. We're in trips. We're in empty. But it's all in the same system. We use the same terminology. We use the same personnel. So that's why I call it like a hybrid. but it's still not like a collection of plays. It is an offensive system. We've developed it over the last 8 years, and we kind of tailor each season to our personnel. And we do, what our personnel tells us, like on any given year, we can have an all-state running back, or we can have an all-state receiver. We can have an all-state quarterback. Haley led the league in passing in 2023. He led the league in touchdowns and yards. So it really depends on the year. Now, 2 years ago, 24, Manny couldn't throw the whole year. It was the only year we didn't have a backup. He got a bruised rotator cuff, and we had to run the ball all season.
You had Travis Gamble, so it was
a
good point.
Yeah. But imagine keeping a team together without being able to throw the ball in practice for 8 weeks, 10 weeks. It's a heavy, and still making it to the semifinals. So it's a lot of it was a lot of work, but that was what our personnel was that year. We were running the ball, we were running toss passes. We did what our personnel said, and last year we had a lot of weapons, and so we used them, and that's kind of like how we go into each season offensively, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I have a follow-up because you guys might hear this follow-up, it's the same question twice, because we're spoilers. We're going to speak with Coach Vega soon. Do you guys struggle in practice to replicate what other teams do in scout because your team is more of a run-based team? Like if you're preparing for a team like Sheepshead Bay that is more of a spread offense, do you struggle a bit to replicate what they do in practice?
I mean, it's a great question. There are some weeks that it's hard to get it just right, but I think we've gotten to the point where, especially, we take a lot of pride in our scout at practice. Guys are very, they're very proud about their scout position and emulating our opponent's offense or defense or whatever it may be. So I like to think we do a good job, and we have the kind of, obviously it's not always going to be the best talent replicated.
You never can.
But we have a deep enough roster to where we're giving good looks, each week. Now you're never going to get it perfect, but for us, it used to be very difficult, but we've gotten, I believe, pretty good at replicating other teams' offenses based on scouting, based on our scout team. And like I said, we take a lot of pride in our scout.
Yeah, and it's just like almost a hypothesis of mine, especially when, I watch the game in the semifinals, right? I could clearly see there were some miscues in the secondary. It was clear, right? There's no way Naeem Cooper should be
1,000%.
running wide open, single coverage down the field, right? And, that's one thing I talk about in this league as well. The quarterback talent is good, but it's usually not, as high as it can be, let's say, compared to the Catholic League. People love to do that. And I always say that just the trajectory of the ball for the secondary can be hard to adjust to in the game. You're used to, oh, okay, I'm over here, like that ball's gonna float, I'm gonna get there. Now you're 2 steps late,
100%.
and somebody's rolling into the end zone.
Yeah, and that's why we try and play up in our non-leagues.
Yes.
But when you get to that point of the season, you haven't seen certain things in a while. So, Sheepshead did a great job on catching us out of alignment. I think they showed things that they hadn't showed all year. So our secondary was a little confused. So they did a really good job at attacking us that way. So that was well done by them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just we're to stay in this 3A division where I've been on a podcast and I'm here again saying that I truly think that the 3A division in the PSAL is going to be one of the most competitive divisions in all of New York State. In all of New York State. Long Island, Upstate, Catholic League, this division is stacked. I mean, I think there's really 11 teams that can really, really make the playoffs. In my opinion, you guys are one of the top teams in that division, but now it's really going to be, there's no off week. So how do you feel like, rolling into a season knowing that the competition is so much more improved?
I mean, I love it. I mean, I really do. Like, I love playing 4 meaningful quarters of football each week. I don't, not to put any other teams down, like blowouts aren't good for anyone, you know? They're not good for the team blowing the other team out. They're not good for the person getting blown out. And so I love coaching in games where, you know, every call matters, every, you know, drive matters. You know, so, you know, like you said, with the level of competition and division, I'm really looking forward to the 3A this year, you know. But at the same time, I'm also, at this point, I'm focused on us, you know. I'm not even trying to really pay attention to everything else going on in the division. I know you guys have to. Yeah. But me, I'm you know, I'll when the time comes, I'll you know, when we get our opponents and we're in that week, I'll be focused on them. But for now, I'm really just focused on us and trying to set the standard for this team this year.
Yeah, and you know, APR is definitely bringing back probably one of the top, you know, senior class, you know, class of 2027 in the whole PSAL, honestly. So just overall, just talk about this class, how special they are. As you said, you know, you have some players that have been here 4-year starters or 4 years on the team, 3 years on the team.
Yeah, I mean, a couple 4-year starters,
Wow.
4 years on the team, and the majority of my senior class, they've been here they've playing 9th grade together, 10th grade together, 11th grade together. They came through the whole program together, and you just don't get that anymore. It's very hard, you know, and I think that's what makes this senior class so special is they've been through it together, you know, from 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. Now they're going into 12th grade. They stuck together. They stuck through the program. I've never had this many seniors who have been through the program since 9th grade. So it's one of these years I'm really, really looking forward to with this group. And they came in the year after we won the championship. So it's kind of one of those things like we won the championship. This group came in. Now they're on their way out. And I'm really looking forward to this ride with them.
Yeah, man. And of course, it's led by your quarterback, Manny Opoku. I got to look down in the notes for here because he got a lot of numbers, man. So, you know, listen, he's one of the top players returning in the whole PSAL. For some of his numbers, 490 rushing yards. Guys, he's a quarterback. I said 400. 590 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns. That makes him the top returning rusher in the 3A. He's a quarterback, right? And he, you know, tacked on 898 passing yards and 11 touchdowns, which makes him the second leading passer returning in the division. You know, and of course, you know, just, you know, knowing Manny being around the program over the past few years, like it's not just what he can do on the field. You know, so just talk about him as a leader and what he brings to the program.
Yeah, I mean, Manny is special for sure. You know, we recognized it right away. He started for us at linebacker as a freshman in 2023.
Wow.
And as he was backing up Jaden Haley. You know, the football stuff aside, this kid is, you know, he's a youth leader in the school. He's a straight A student. He just got back from a 3-week STEM program at Morehouse University. He's a PSAL ambassador. You know, he was voted captain as a sophomore. And, you know, he's one of the most polite, well-spoken, respectful young men I've ever come across. And so, you know, with football, he's amazing. But as a young man, you know, almost even better. So having someone like that leading the program for the last 3 years, once again, he was voted captain as a sophomore. It's been, you know, he's almost been an extension of me with the team as a leader, you know, keeping them calm and the, you know, when the storm hits. And yeah, having someone like that is it's very special. They don't come around very often. So we're lucky we got him.
And I love how you put it, like he's an extension of you because, you know, you can, I'm sure, you know, as a coach, you always feel helpless sometimes, right? Yeah. You send him out in the field, you send him to play. It's on you after that.
Absolutely.
And having someone like Manny, it just must be incredible.
Yeah, no, it is. And he does a great job. He was the only captain for a little while last year, and it was almost like, you know, it wasn't a big deal. You know, like I said, he's just a tremendous leader, a tremendous kid. I could stand up here all day and say a million good things about him, but he's just, amazing young man.
So arguably, you have one of the top prospects in all of New York City, honestly. If I am Syracuse Rutgers, I'm talking to him, I say, yo, there's a 6'2", 205-pound player out here in Harlem who can run fast, he's strong, you need to come see him. And that describes Isaac Suazo.
Yeah.
Pick 6 in the semifinal game, whole entire city watching. I've been following him since he was a sophomore, and just seeing him even that young, like how well he can be playing on an island one-on-one. And then this year he just steps it up, playing wide receiver, and then of course becoming an even better secondary player. Now talk about what makes him so special.
Yeah, I mean, Isaac, like you said, 6'2", 205, physically is, a presence. And then, add the fact that he's fast. He could go up and get the ball, sure hands.
Yeah.
He closes fast. He hits hard. He hits low. He has great body movement in the air, body control. Blocks guys out when he's going to make catches. And aside from the physical, he practices hard. He doesn't miss practice. He's been with us since 8th grade summer coming into 9th grade. One of those program guys who has been humble the whole way. I remember him sitting on a bench at one of the varsity games early that 2023 year when he was a freshman, saying, looking at the varsity guys saying, that's going to be me soon, just trusted the process. I know it's cliche, but he really did. And he's just gotten better and better each year. And even throughout the season, got better and better until he was playing his best football in the semifinals. He's had a great offseason. He's working hard. And so, I can't wait to see what he does this year. He's a hell of a football player.
Yeah, I just feel like Isaac is a kid. He just pops out when you see him. Like if you're watching a football game, you're like, yeah, this kid can play anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, 6'2", 205. I mean, we've had colleges say he could be a flex tight end for them. He could play corner. He could play. I put him on jet sweeps before, and he carries the ball very well. Could probably put him anywhere on the defense, and he'd be fine. But he's great in coverage. He's really good in coverage.
Yeah, and he comes down and hits too.
Yeah, he closes. He closes fast, and he hits hard, and he hits low. He doesn't hit high. At 6'2", it's hard to do. So, very impressive what he's done.
Of course, to close out the trio, Zaire Jones, he led the league in receiving touchdowns with 6 last season. Yeah. Talk about, his best attributes as a player.
I mean, Zaire is kind of that middle ground glue that kind of ties the running game and passing game together. It's hard to catch 4-4 in the open field. Add the fact that he's tough. He could dunk. He could go up and get it. Yeah, he could dunk. He was just up dunking the other day. He's strong, fast, plays with an edge, comes down and hits hard too. But he kind of gives us that speed. He could carry the ball, catch the ball. So he's kind of that in-between piece that just ties everything together. So another guy that's, we recruited in 8th grade and came in as a 9th grader and played JV his freshman year, got called up at the end of the year, and kind of just every year has gotten better and better. Another kid who never misses practice. He's out there working hard every day. Zaire is just, an amazing player.
Listen, Coach, it's going to be tough for, of course we're recording this in July.
Right.
But it's going to be tough for another team to put up 3 players next to your 3 players and say my 3 players are better.
I agree.
Those players, just tremendous players, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Listen, and of course, it's not all about, the athletics. Just talk about A. Randolph as an institution, what it offers, students.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell this to, families when they're coming to visit and looking at high schools is, to get a high school in New York City that's still one school is hard to find these days. A lot of schools are broken up into different schools. A. Philip is still one school. We have one principal, one athletic department. So these kids spend all day together. They're in their weight room first period. They come up for their lunch. Then we go out to the field together. It's not like the first time they see each other during the day is at the practice field. So it really is that family-like feeling when you come into school. Academically, we offer everything that you'd want in a high school: AP courses, tech courses, robotics. We even have a drone soccer team. Drone soccer, and they were New York City champions 2 years in a row.
All right, cut that. No, don't stop recording. What is drone soccer?
So it's like it's a team of like 4 people that build a drone into a soccer ball. And
the drone is the ball?
Yeah, and you're trying to like get it into the other team's hoop, and it's in a big encased net. It's pretty wild. They did a demonstration at one of the assemblies last year, and they did one for me when I was visiting, the team. And there's a lot of kids that are working on these things.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got a theater, we have a theater class, we got music and art, and just everything you want in a high school experience. So typically, a lot of kids feel at home when they're here, and that's kind of the vibe we go for. I think it's one of the best schools in the area, if not the borough. So I know, I love the school, and the kids love it as well.
Drone soccer, man. All right, we're about to start this whole thing over and talk about drone soccer.
Yeah.
Just talk about your staff and like how they contribute to your success.
Man, my staff is amazing. The success is all of the staffs. My dad has been my assistant coach since 2019.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yep, he's been here every bit of the way. And then my JV coach, Coach Frawley, has been here since 2019. He puts out a really, really good JV product every single year. Works those kids hard, discipline. They have the same schedule we have. They start when we start. It's not like, JV starts late for us. It's, they're August 16th, they'll be out there, Everyone's physical in. Coach Scriba is our line coach. He's been in the building. He played, college football. He's been with me from the start. Coach Reynolds, who I brought in after the 2021 season as our DC, does an amazing job. He's part of the reason why, replicating those offenses. He's got the huddle cards ready. He's got their plays, their schemes, their numbers, tendencies. He really, does a really good job at breaking other teams down. And then our latest addition, Coach Height, coming in, has made a immediate impact for us. And we just have a really good staff that works really well together. We always have alumni coming back. Patrick Ramirez has been with me since 2019. Okay. He was our quarterback in 2019, went down with the collarbone in game 1. The next season after he graduated, he was back on the sidelines with me, and he's been with me ever since as one of our assistant coaches. So the staff they all have their own roles. They do it very well. We work very well together, and the kids love our staff. We're very selective with who we bring in. We don't have a staff of 15 or 20 like a lot of these schools. We do it kind of like with the skeleton crew, but that's just what we do. I don't think there's a better staff out there with what we have to work with. So I think they're great.
No, absolutely, man. You can see it from the success, And so, last question, Coach.
Yeah.
So we're talking the last 5 years: championship, 2 visits to the championship where he fell short, and now we're coming off of 2 semifinal losses, right? So this 3A is stacked. I still have APR as one of the top contenders. We can argue till we turn blue in the face who's the top contender. I have you guys as one of the top contenders. What does success look like for APR in the 2026 season?
Success, for us is like what I tell the kids every year. It's, it's chip or bust. I know the right thing to do is say, go 1-0 each week, take care of business. But that's just not us. you know, if we're not if we're not winning a championship, then it was an unsuccessful season for us. So that's just the mentality we go into every season with. Anything less is for us is unsuccessful. So, you know, that's what we expect this year is to go out and win a championship.
Coach,
Thank you, Jay.
absolute pleasure, man.
Pleasure with you too, man.
Listen, guys, that's Coach Perlowitz of APR. We're going to be back next episode. We'll revisit JFK.